My name is Cole Ruggiero and I'm in Period 2 of Level 3 Designing and Engineering. For my project, I will be using the 3D printer to create an object I can then take a mold of to cast into metal. To start off, I'll have to find some sort of object that I can then take a mold of. Just like you see in the picture, this guy has this cool clown face that he takes a mold of. The process I'm going through will be similar to what you saw on the previous slide. However, mine will be longer since I'm casting that object into metal. What I'll need to do that is I'll need an object. This can be any 3D printed object or any object lying around your house. I'll need to take a mold of that object using this. This is silicone, referred to as liquid rubber, that people use to make molds of objects. After I'm done making the silicone mold, I will then have to remove the object from the mold, which is rather easy. Now being left with a hollow silicone mold, I will pour wax into that mold, creating a wax object. I will then remove that wax object from the mold and then place it in a plaster mold, which is similar to concrete. The reason I need a concrete mold is so when I go to pour molten aluminum into the mold, it won't completely destroy it. From there, all that's left to do is melt the wax out of the plaster mold and replace the wax with molten aluminum. I'll then wait a couple of minutes before breaking open the concrete mold to reveal the metal object. I started off by 3D printing a badge I found off of Thingiverse. I figured this would be the object I take the mold of. This is where I ran into my first problem. Because the 3D printed object wasn't completely smooth, you can see all of the imperfections in the mold. So I tried printing a different object with a higher resolution 3D print, and the same problem occurred. You were still able to see the print lines made from the 3D printer. So I started looking into different ways I could get better print qualities, and instead found this. This is a type of wax filament, so instead of printing a plastic object, this would create a wax one. Using this plastic filament would basically cut the process in half, being that I wouldn't have to make a silicone mold. I would simply 3D print a wax object, make a plaster mold of the object, melt out the wax, and then pour molten aluminum in it to create a metal object. So I reached out to a company that was selling wax filament and asked them if there was any way I could get a small sample of the filament so I could test it and see how it prints. They emailed me back within a couple of hours saying that they would be happy to send me a sample of their filament. This brings me to what I'm currently working on. I'm now trying to use the wax filament to get a more detailed print so I can then take a plaster mold of the object and cast it in metal. I've done a few test prints using the wax filament, and I'm noticing that the first layer does not like to stick to the bed, which normally results in a failed print. To diagnose the problem, I'm researching what others have done to increase a successful print. I've seen everything from people changing the temperatures on their 3D printer to adding glue or hairspray to the bed so the filament sticks to it. As soon as I get a smooth print using this wax filament, I will then be able to make a plaster mold and cast it in metal, which should not take long. Also, keep in mind that I'm not completely abandoning silicone molds. I've just found it extremely difficult to capture a mold of an object that doesn't contain any air bubbles or imperfections. This concludes what I'll be working on in fourth marking period. Thank you for watching.